everybody, welcome to Our Culture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Hello, Scott.
On the news again, so we're going to cover a few different things going forward. One being the state of PC gaming, another being a reaction to the Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon trailer, and the third thing being the PlayStation VR 2 is finally available in shops.
God, can you believe it?
Can you believe it? What a future we have. So the first thing, the absolute state of PC gaming, which is doing the rounds again as a conversation point, because Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the game whose name I can never remember, hasn't launched very well. We've already got EA saying that they are committing to weeks of patches and updates going forward, because the game on PC is just an absolute tire fire. So, well, depending on your settings, some people wading into those conversations going, it's completely fine. But the likes of SkillUp, various other people, Jeff Gerstmann, covering the game before launch, saying that it wasn't running very well. They were waiting for a patch just before launch, and it made some things better, but it seems like it's coming in hot. This is the second major game.
That's right.
To be on fire, because The Last of Us was also one of those games that's so glitchy, it's hilarious. I was
pleased I got to break this to you, because you missed it because you were in Japan, and then I was like, have you heard of The Last of Us' PC launch? And then we saw the glorious photographs that came from that release. And it's funny, but it's also not, because The Last of Us should be Sony's premier franchises, at least one of them. One of the most respected games, most beloved games of all time, finally coming to PC, and that's the version they get. How can they think that is acceptable?
Also, Sony are very much pushing into PC by putting their various first-party titles on the platform to sort of test the waters, do the same thing that Xbox is doing and has been doing for a while. You've got Horizon over there, you've got Ghost of Tsushima, I think is in the pipeline, or it's already there. Uncharted, they're trying to do this, and they need to nail each one. I think until now, everything had been pretty smooth sailing. I'm not a PCsman, so I've not been following it that much.
Funnily enough, I think Uncharted was another one that was kind of a little bit dodgy, not to this extent, but I think it also had a few issues, but otherwise, mostly smooth sailing-ish.
Okay, that's because he has a boat in part 4, the little smooth sailing with his little brother.
That was also a shipwreck, wasn't it?
Hey! It was! That's the thing. Some of these games are just so ludicrously over-the-top broken that I think it's hilarious to us, and I get a lot of joy out of seeing ridiculous bugs and glitches. There's a one of Joel where his skin is completely not even there. That stuff is great, but like you said, you kind of acknowledge the reality of Sony letting this happen. I feel sorry for the dev teams and everything, because assumedly it would have been some sort of deadline issue. Because that's the thing with video games this big, the amount of moving parts they have, the amount of different textures, the amount of different asset work that they have, they are going to be on fire until they're not. And the point that they're not is in the closing months of development.
Yes,
it's always going to come down to those closing months, and if they're not allowed the time or whatever it is, you're going to get examples like this all the time.
And I just think it sucks that while console gamers have had a lot of disasters in the past, you look at the Cyberpunks, you look at the GTA trilogies, it's more often than not consistently PC players who get the brunt of this crap. You look at as far back as Arkham Knight, which did not run at all on PCs. It was barely fixed, and
fell.
WB famously prioritized the DLC rather than fixing the game that they launched. And you look at that, which was 2015, and you fast forward to 2023, and you're getting these, again, high-profile releases that are just failing on this platform, and it's like, PC players deserve better. They're a huge audience. They're a dedicated audience. They invest so much money in the finest graphic cards and the finest processors and CPUs, in other words that I'm not entirely sure what they mean, but they're so dedicated.
They love that volumetric lighting.
And yet, they always get the brunt of this kind of development, and that is just, we're like a broken record talking about it, but I just don't understand how this kind of thing has not been fixed yet, or it hasn't been prioritized. And why aren't they appreciated as much as some of the players? Why is it acceptable to release a game like Jedi Survivor and then have EA instantly, literally before the game is out for people to play, say, oh yeah, by the way, we're looking at weeks of patches for this thing before it actually runs how it should run? It's funny, but it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the thing is, part of me thinks that it's a bit of a harbinger, a bit of a warning for the way consoles are kind of going. We just did a whole video in terms of when we're recording it, but it'll be out on Saturday night, about the generation so far and the state of the consoles. And we asked a lot of people to send in their thoughts on the systems themselves. And it's that whole idea of looking for the granularities in gaming and getting a whole system because of the granularities, and picking out things like ray tracing or 60 FPS or whatever it is, and enjoying those things because you love video games. And if you want to get one of the biggest, most powerful rigs possible, you would be in the PC space. But then you're almost punished for it because of the amount of customization that you can have on your side means that it's harder for them to match up with your rig. Hence why some people are having the best time ever, and a lot of people are very much not. And I know that that's PC Gaming 101, but I feel like the bigger console games going over there almost directly addresses that in a way that things that were smaller productions never did.
Yeah, I mean, I love Resident Evil 4 Remake. It's my favorite game of the year. It's going to be very tough to beat. But even that game had technical issues at launch, and even between the consoles, you had individual graphics options that would tank your performance. If you were playing on Series X, or if you were playing on PlayStation 5 especially, you know, if you turned on hair strands, if you turned on the quality mode and turned on ray tracing, the performance would kind of tank, and it's kind of like, if you can't even get those platforms right, what chance do you have of making 5 SKUs and trying to then accommodate a radically diverse PC player base with radically different rigs? It's like, it's almost impossible, but at the same time, it kind of reminds me of, you know, scope creep of like if you're going to do it, commit to it and get it right, rather than just throwing this smorgasbord out there and being like, yeah, it runs fine if you own a PlayStation 5 and you turn off these specific features and you crank your VR on your television. That's like, you are right that we're getting into that kind of PC mentality on the console front now.
For me, it's fascinating because when we, growing up playing so many video games, there were so many games on consoles that were obviously developed on PC first. Vast majority of development does happen on PC first anyway, but there were so many games across the 2000s, across the 2010s, like your 6s and 7s out of 10 games, the games that we all fall in love with, that weren't specifically made for consoles, but went over to systems. And now it feels like the opposite's happening, where you have all these big games that arrived on consoles, and they have their fan bases, they have people talking about them. They were, prioritized towards consoles, and then it goes over to PC, and it's an absolute mess. And I just feel like it's just a weird irony or a weird sort of way that things have shaken out. That the console promise of having something that just works doesn't work on PC, and the idea of trying to make that backwards or flip it back over and put this console game on a PC that should just work now results in all these ridiculous, hilarious, tragic glitches, etc.
Yes, absolutely. You know, we've always joked, just to finish this point, missing skin. I mean, I don't think you'll ever get better than the Assassin's Creed Unity missing skin, bone, flesh combo.
10 missing skin glitches.
Although you did have eyes and a tongue and teeth for that, if I recall.
Yeah.
But it's just been always like the old saying of the people who buy these games at launches, which is me and you and probably you watching, are the ones, least served. You're the most dedicated players. You're the biggest fans. You get the worst version of the game. It sucks. It shouldn't be like that. Why is it not fixed?
Do you know what might not suck? The next talking point. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon got its first gameplay trailer. Now, this is the next game from Software, which leaked quite a while ago. They have a lot of overlapping projects in development, and there's already rumors of Elden Ring 2, whatever. For now, though, From Software very much returning to one of the IPs that put them on the map. Now, I'm not an Armored Coresman, but I know that you grew up playing the IP.
I did. I'm a lapsed Armored Coresman because I never really loved the gameplay. I'll say that outright right now.
Okay.
But I loved it because it was one of the only games at the time, at least, where you had this amazing customization suite where you could create your very own mech and you could get right into the granular little details of your machine and really essentially build out a character but swap in a bunch of different parts, and that was, to young me, an absolute dream come true. So I'm excited to see that element come back alongside the gameplay innovations that From Software have obviously ushered in over the past decade and how tight their gameplay has gotten, and hopefully if they can mesh them together, we'll have a really good experience. I watched the trailer, I thought it looked sick. I have a few potential drawbacks in terms of the environment and the art style maybe looking a little bit flat at times, but I just think overall it's quite a ballsy move to drop Elden Ring, an incredibly successful game, and then follow that up with a sequel 10 years later nearly to a niche franchise that never really got off the ground compared to your other IPs that you could choose. I just think that's really cool and interesting.
We should acknowledge the absolute fire of Rubicon that is From Software. I don't know if that's a bad term or not. I've not played the franchise. No. But I still think that the amount of output they've had with the bar of quality that they've had, they've only gone strength to strength to strength. Elden Ring pretty much stopped the world for a minute as everybody played through it to various degrees. And you just look at the amount of games they've had across the last 10 plus years now. Like I said, the bar of quality is sky high. I'm just looking forward to it in that regard. god, like this is a studio that have come along leaps and bounds, and the amount of design lessons they learned. I'm curious how that maps across to it'll bring in a lot of people that have never played an Armored Core before, like me, and they'll play it assuming that it's almost Soulsy.
Yeah.
And I get that it's kind of not, and so in the gameplay I was like, oh, maybe it's like mech Souls flying around.
It's kind of not, but this one might kind of be. You know, like there's been a few times from across From Software's career recently where I've looked at a game and thought, is that going to be in the Souls model? You know, Sekiro was the big one for me, where it's an Activision published title. They're in interviews talking about how it was going to be more action orientated. You've got a jump button now, you got stealth moves, you got all of this stuff. But it did still have the Souls framework, right?
Yes.
So this, from the gameplay trailer, looks incredibly fast. It looks incredibly hard-hitting. You've got all of this verticality on display. But I'm sure, because they know how popular the Souls framework is, they'll be bringing ideas over. They'll be bringing certain formulas over and kind of melding it around. And that, to me, is really exciting. As a fan of that framework, who, you know, did your head in last year by playing every single one of those games back-to-back, and just that's all we talked about on the podcast for about 3 months. But,
it was a beautiful time.
Yeah. I'm sure about that, maybe.
I'm curious about, because the thing is, with From Software, they remind me of what Rockstar used to do in the 2000s. I feel like that insane hot streak that Rockstar had, where they were mixing various GTA releases that were all coming out, you know, pretty soon after each other, alongside other IPs like Smuggler's Run and Midnight Club. They had the Warriors, they had Bully, they had Table Tennis. They had all these different games that would come out, and they had such a core engine to work with. I know there was a big changeover when GTA 4 came out, but they had so much momentum, and they were so reliable, and you knew what you were getting, but you also had the comfort, the ability to sort of experiment as well. I feel like From Software are having a Rockstar moment right now, and like I said, the amount of games they've had out, and then pivoting back into an old IP to remind everybody that it was brilliant, and getting people like me in. I'm just psyched to see how that thing plays.
Me too. Like I'm like as a kind of From Software fan, which is obvious from this video now. I'm clearly a fanboy for these games. Fan Software, like I kind of trust them implicitly on whatever they want to do. So even if this game kind of looked crap, they've earned the trust. Where now I would just kind of jump into whatever they have to offer to see if it's any good. And I'm not saying everything they make is going to be gold, but like you said, they've had that moment. They've released all of these games, not to mention all the DLCs for those games in between the releases.
I was going to say that's coming as well, yeah.
And they've earned that over the past decade. They've earned that kind of respect from the fan base, and hopefully it allows a more underappreciated franchise like this to get its time in the spotlight if it's good.
Yeah, man, it looks awesome. The trailer looks really, really solid. Final talking point is that the PlayStation VR 2 is finally available at physical retailers. For me, the way they've rolled this thing out is hilariously bad. I didn't know what was going on.
No one did. No one did. Here's the thing, right? I love the PlayStation VR 2. I think it's an incredible bit of kit. We did a review on it, a discussion piece when it first came out, and I stand by every single word I said in there. I'm still playing it. There are still games coming out for it. There are some incredible experiences. The kit itself in the games aren't a problem.
Right.
It's how it was sold. It's how it was marketed. The fact that, like you said there, a lot of people didn't even know if it was on sale because you had to buy it directly from Sony's website, and now in May, it's finally coming to retailers. It's a strange rollout. It's a lot to ask for the price point, even though I do think the price point is competitive. There's no denying that it is expensive in the current market, and it's just been a really disappointing rollout because they've not really given people, I don't think, a reason to want to run out and buy one. One, they literally can't because it's not in shops. And two, it's just had a bit of a confused messaging, which is a shame because I want it to be successful because it's great and I want more games.
That's the thing, is the tech looks incredible, and I feel like I had a whole thing a few months ago when it seemed like it was releasing. All the reviews were coming out. We had access to it, and your pre-order was coming in and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give in to this feeling that I always get with every single new game or every single new thing, and I'll buy a PSVR 2. And then I got lost in that whole thing of like, you need to register on the website and then wait for the. And I was like, I'm out. I'm already out again. And so I kind of have been waiting for them to be more readily available, but I feel like the PSVR 2 had a little back and forth in terms of the reporting, saying, oh, I didn't sell enough, and then I think it was Sony themselves said, like, actually, it's completely fine.
Yeah.
There was a lot of back and forward in terms of how successful it actually was. Where do you stand now as someone? Do you believe they're going to do right by it going forward?
I never believe Sony's going to do right by a thing that isn't their flagship machine. You know, you look at stuff like the PSP and the Vita and even the VR1 to a certain extent. Like, you always want them to put more support into it. It is really disappointing, but understandable to learn that it didn't quite sell presumably as much as they wanted to. It's a difficult market right now. It's a tough time for a lot of people, like I said. So you hope that they're going to stick by it, at least in the short term. For the first few years, it does look like there's a lot of games on the horizon. They've already announced so many. It's going to take me a long time to get through the backlog of great games that are already on the machine.
Right.
So you hope they're going to support it. I don't think it's going to die this year or anything like that.
Right.
There are games in development that will definitely see it through for a little while. It's just the question of, in 4 years' time, will I be as confident? Will I be saying they're going to support it for another 4 years and they're going to support it well? I don't know.
That's the thing. They've only been out for a few months, but it's already like up in the air. It's like, are they going to do right by the amount of money for this thing? Because I still feel like if you want to just buy into PlayStation VR, and it's one of the best VR headsets you could possibly buy, and you don't have a PlayStation 5, that is about £1,000, if not more, to get the console, to get the PSVR, and to get a couple of games or get Horizon or something. I feel like that's still one of the biggest hurdles that they need to surmount. Because even launching with the likes of Horizon Call of the Mountain, that should have created a lot more buzz. I feel like they had the best foot forward, and like that game seems solid enough.
It's hard, man. Like it's an impossible task, and I do have a lot of sympathy for the people at Sony trying to sell this thing, because I say to you all the time, VR is not something you can be sold on by looking at it on a flat screen.
Right.
You can't look at gameplay footage and think, why would I want to get a game that looks like a million games I've played before? It is that kind of hands-on experience, which especially now, you know, over the past few years has been tough to get, and no one wants to spend £500 on a new machine to get that hands-on experience and realize, oh, it's not for me. I get motion sick. You know, it's not quite what I envisioned, because it's tough. You need to sell people on what VR is, but then that also allows them to kind of go wild with their own imagination of what that tech actually is when you have it. I know when I got the PSVR 1, as much as I loved it, I was a little bit underwhelmed because I built it so much up. I built it up so much in my head about what it could be. It's just, like I said, it's almost an impossible task to sell a thing that sits in your face and like uses your real like hand movements and whatnot. It's difficult.
I feel like the solution is Spider-Man. I've always just thought if they just did a proper PS5 level PlayStation VR 2 supported Spider-Man game, maybe they'd patch it into Spider-Man 2 or something. But I wonder if they can't do that because it would make too many people feel immediately sick or ill. Because the first time you leap off a building and have to put your arm out, and then the swing of the momentum of that, either it would have to compromise the speed of it, so you don't just throw up immediately, or maybe some other sort of design thing that makes it more palatable. But I think they need that killer app, and I assume the Horizon would be that. Watching the gameplay for Horizon, I was definitely like, that feels cool.
Here's the thing.
But then it's kind of tech demo-y.
They've got killer apps. They've got killer apps. Horizon's not really one of them, to be honest. It looks gorgeous, but it is kind of like tech demo-y in that way. But they have games that are admittedly ports, but they are killer apps. You know, you got Pistol Whip, you got The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is one of the best bloody games and experiences I've ever had as a gamer, at least in recent times. You know, you've got a bunch of stuff coming up. You got Firewall, you got Pavlov, all of these excellent games that are on the machine right now. But I don't know, man. Here's the thing. Do killer apps still exist? Do killer apps still exist right now? I think you get a few of them every generation now, where you used to get a lot more. Like, would I tell you, the viewer right now, to spend £500 on a PSVR to play The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners? That is one of the best experiences I've ever had, but I couldn't do that to you. I couldn't say it's going to be worth it,
but
to
you'd have to, you'd have free up £1,000.
Exactly that, right? It's such a hard sell, because it's like, what is that worth in the modern era, in the modern economic climate? Difficult.
No, man, I think they're up against that as well. But the fact that they're finally physically available, I think, is a lot of people just go, what? Didn't they come out months ago? And maybe they'll get lost in the coverage loops and find things out and find experiences that they actually want to play. But yeah, PSVR and VR in general, I still find just fascinating. I love Sony diving in with 2 feet. You know, Nintendo's approach was with a cardboard headset. Xbox kind of had that thing that they did the Minecraft demo with, the glass thing, HoloLens. And they sort of abandoned that. Everything was cancelled. Google had the glasses for a bit, and then they cancelled all that stuff. I know that's more of an AR tech thing, but still, I feel like overall it's kind of advertised as the next big step. It's the next thing that we're all going to get into in gaming, and watching all that unfold is kind of fascinating. But let us know what you think down in the comments below of the state of PC gaming, Armored Core 6, and PlayStation VR, or VR in general. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.